Very good morning. So I'm hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are
Yeah.
audible. Just wait 30 seconds, so the audience will join us.
Okay.
Now, sir, you can proceed, sir.
Okay. So good morning, all the distinguished participants from across India and abroad. So I sincerely, at the outset, I sincerely thank Dr. S.K. Dwivedi, Indian Society of Horticulture Research and Development, for given this opportunity to share some of my views and experiences on remote sensing and GIS applications in horticulture. In fact, when Dr. S.K. Dwivedi has contacted me, so I was a bit surprised how and how whether I can make or not. So then after he explaining, then I agreed for this. So I basically, I'm actually a GP OB Reddy working at Division of Remote Sensing Applications at National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning, the premier ICR institute located at Nagpur. My expertise basically on remote sensing and GIS applications. Although I'm not specialized in horticulture sector, but I give the brief on actually what are the potential. Actually, this talk will see how best this the potential of remote sensing and GIS technology can be leveraged for the horticulture sector. So we all know actually in recent times the tremendous changes are happened in the field of remote sensing and GIS, and these the technology or these technologies have immense potential in agriculture in general and especially in horticulture in various sectors within the horticulture the field. So I'll go to my presentation slides. uh, Hope you are visible in my slides, please. uh, so this basically actually we are we're talking on remote sensing and GIS application in horticulture. If you look at this the horticulture sector with reference to the sustainable development goals of United Nations, because this sector has a
Sir,
immense yeah.
sir, please share your slides, sir. Share the screen.
Yeah, I have already shared.
No, no, it's not shared, sir.
I'll do it again. I will do it again. I'll do it again, please. Hope it is now visible.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
visible now. You can
So
proceed.
I'm basically 1 hour or so. We are talking basically what is the the potential of remote sensing and GIS application in the field of horticulture sector. If you look at these changes or the tremendous progress happened in these two fields in the last 2 decades is immense. So we are trying to see how best we can leverage these advances in the field of remote sensing and GIS for the horticulture sector development. So that is the main focus of this today's talk. If you look at the role of horticulture in the United Nations SDGs in achieving the SDGs. So many out of the 17 SDGs, around 11 sustainable development goals are either directly or indirectly related to the the horticulture sector. Say like no poverty, the zero hunger, good health and well-being, which are directly related to the the horticulture sector, can significantly contribute to realize these the sustainable development goals. Similarly, we have the clean water and sanitation, of course, the clean energy, then decent work and economic growth, industry and innovation infrastructure, which are directly related to the all the sectors. Of course, horticulture sector also have a significant role to play here. And similarly, we have a climate action. We all know that the impact of climate change on the changes in the climate on horticulture crops, and of course life on earth, and partnership for the goals. So where all the sectors can contribute, and especially the horticulture sector can significantly contribute to realize this global, the sustainable development goals, especially from Indian sector. So if you look at the challenges in agriculture, especially on horticulture in particular, so we all, experiencing this population growth and urbanization. Because of this, a lot of pressure on natural resources and the competing, increasing competition for natural resources, either in terms of land resources or water resources, whatever. This is a tremendous impact is there on all the crops, especially in horticulture crops. Climate change, we all experiencing in one way or other the impact of the climate change and weather aberrations on horticulture sector. And land degradation, low productivity, land degradation again, it have an impact on the overall the productivity of various, the horticulture crops across the globe. And poverty and food security, of course, this is also one important challenge where this sector have a significant role to play in to minimize this poverty and food insecurity. And changing food systems and food losses, this is actually one important area which is very concerned for this horticulture sector, particularly the food losses. Some of the studies shows that 25 to 30% of the harvested crops are we are losing before reaching to the consumers. And the nutrition and health, because this sector have a significant contribution, play a significant contribution in maintaining the nutritional health. And unemployment and migration, and this sector can absorb a huge employment opportunities and provide employment for the various at various levels. And the low adoption of emerging digital technologies, this is also one concern. Though we are adopting the technologies, emerging technologies, but still we are not up to the mark in adopting the various emerging digital technologies. If you look at this, the scenario of the glimpses of horticulture sector in India, the fruit crops contributes about 31% of the total horticulture crops, and the vegetable crops, it is a major share. About 60% of the horticulture crops contributed from vegetable crops. The plantation crops around 6%, spices 2%, flowers and aromatic plants 0.9 and 0.1% respectively, as per the National Horticulture Board statistics. So this is the scenario as for the Indian horticulture sector is concerned. So primarily the three important, these fruit crops, vegetables and plantation crops contributes significantly, about 97% of the total horticulture production in India. If you look at this a little bit detail, India has a wide range of actually climate and physiography. India bestowed of the various climatic conditions and agroclimatic conditions and physiographic conditions to grow variety of horticulture crops, right from the arid agriculture to subhumid, subtropical, right from northeastern states, and even Kerala and even Jammu Kashmir, cold arid conditions. So we have all types of agroclimatic conditions to grow all types of horticulture crops. That is a really a fantastic condition what we have in India. So the horticulture crops play a unique role in the Indian economy. We all know that. And globally, India ranks the second largest producer of many vegetables and fruit crops. The rank first in productivity of banana, grapes, cassava, and peas and papaya. These are the the important products. India ranks first in producing these horticultural crops. And the largest producer of mango, banana, coconut, cashew, papaya, and pomegranate, which is India is significantly contributed to the global the areas like mangoes, banana, and coconut. And the largest producer and exporter of spices, because this is also one important area where in the global market India is exporting a huge amount of the spices as well. So the scenario of horticulture crops in India has become very encouraging. If you look at the last 20 years, the sector is progressing very well. and we will see some of these, the statistics in subsequent slides. The percentage share of horticulture output in agriculture has become at 33%. So this is also is rising, and that signifies the importance of this sector in the overall agricultural production in India. In India, fruits and vegetable plantation crops comprises nearly 97% of the total horticulture production. So these three areas or three sectors within the horticulture sector significantly contribute to the overall horticulture production in the country and the global market. And the total area occupied with horticulture crop in India was about 25.43 million hectares. So this is not a small area. It's a huge area under various types of horticultural crops are occupied in India at various locations in various agroclimatic conditions. And the total production was about 311.7 million tons in 2017 and 18, as per the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare statistics. So this is a very significant growth in terms of area as well as in terms of production in the last 20 years. If you look at a little bit statistics on this sector, if you see in the last almost to say like 18 to 20 years, so this horticulture production surpassed this food grain production somewhere 2010 onwards. So now it is moving even beyond the total food grain production. This horticulture sector is going about 311 million hectares production, all horticulture products put together. So this is really, you can see the consistently rising. That is a significant, the achievement in this sector, how it is progressing over a period of time. And you can see the total production, say like 145 to 311, it is almost double within a period of roughly 20 years in the total production due to the various interventions of the ICAR and many other, ICR-based institutes located at different parts of the country are significantly contributing to this growth. If you take only the one component or one, the product, that is a banana, in the global market, actually India is significantly contributing 20% of the banana production in the globe. And most of this banana, is consumed in India, and a significant part of the banana is exporting to the Gulf countries through various modes. So that is one important. And next is the Philippines 9% and China 9%, like that. So these are the the position actually India has due to the various climatic conditions and the soil and the variety of the soil conditions across India. If you look at this total horticulture production put together, across states, if you look in India, Uttar Pradesh significantly contributes 12.6% of the total horticulture production. In the first comes as the first, and the West Bengal 10.4%, and Madhya Pradesh come to 8.5%, then followed by Maharashtra 8%. Overall, horticulture production. If you look at these fruit crops only, if Andhra Pradesh comes first, 15.6% of the total Indian production, then Maharashtra 12%, then Uttar Pradesh 10.8%. So this is exclusively for fruit crops only. So if you look at the remote sensing and GIS aspects, if you see this National Horticulture Mission was came into force in 2005, is significantly mentioned this point. So I extract this information from that report from National Horticulture Mission of 2005, the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. It says that the technologies such as the information and communication technology, that ICT, remote sensing and geographic information system will be widely used for planning, monitoring purposes, including identification of sites for creating infrastructure facilities, for post-harvesting management, markets, and production forecast. So the NHM significantly highlighted the importance of this, the technologies to play in realizing the various goals set by the NHM to realize these type of goals using the technologies, emerging technologies. Now let us quickly look at some of the signs of this technology before going for the application aspect. If I see the remote sensing part, we all know that actually the remote sensing is nothing but the art and science of obtaining useful information about an object without physical contact between the object and sensor. So object is somewhere and sensor is somewhere, but the sensors can collect the information about the objects on Earth surface because of the various the technological assemblies. If all the objects on the surface of the Earth have their own characteristics of spectral signatures. So that is the main important phenomena which captured by the sensors of various satellites. The satellites have the capabilities of various the sensors. The remote sensing has a huge application in agriculture, especially in horticulture crops, because horticulture crops have a uniqueness compared to the other agriculture crops, because some are perennial, some are distinctly we can say like separate or map compared to the field crops. So that is the uniqueness we have and the advantage we have in horticulture sector to apply this remote sensing and GIS applications. And RS and GIS applications have immense potential in precision agriculture and better management of the existing crops, and to bring more area under horticulture by using various interventions at various levels in the horticulture sector. Let us look at how it works, the system as a whole, remote sensing, how it is gathers information for us, about the features of the earth, of course, including this horticulture and crops and everything. So this remote sensings are, I am not going the detail of this, the detailed physics of the remote sensing. But quickly, this remote sensing, basically, there are two types of remote sensing. One is a passive remote sensing, another is active remote sensing. The passive remote sensing always depends on the sunlight. That is, it needs the energy to capture the reflectance of the different features on the Earth surface. So it always depends on the sunlight. And the active sensors, it doesn't require any sunlight. So even it can work on either night or day and night. So without even in a cloudy time, also it can collect the information. And all weather, the satellites we call actually the active sensors or active satellites. So here, actually, when the sunlight falls on the different objects, each object has its own reflectance depend upon the characteristic, then phenology, then structure, then water content. So many parameters, it depends on the reflectance. So when the signatures reflected to the atmosphere, the sensors which are having unique capabilities, we can capture the signatures of different features in a different way, and that can be recorded on the platforms, and that can be transmitted to the local say like ground stations, which is we have a unique ground station at Sadnagar in Hyderabad, nearby Hyderabad. So that station receives continuously the satellite data collected from the field, and that is transmitted to the the say like processing stations, and the data is processed, and this is the process data, and that can be supplied to the user or put it into the public use in open domain, and that data can be used for the users for various applications. Though data is the same for all the users, but each user and each specialized expert can see the data in his own way, because other expert or other domain person cannot see, as he visualize the data from different angles. So that way these applications are emerging based on the satellite data. Of course, as the data is vary on different resolutions and all. Let us see different platforms we have. Actually, we have aerial platforms, we have a multispectral satellites, we have radars, we have hyperspectral platforms. These aerial platforms are actually basically here actually, because we have to flow this flights or drones to collect the information, and this actually the high resolution data sets it can collect, but only it can cover the little small extent area compared to the satellite, because it can collect the little height from the ground, so it can cover only the limited extent, but it can collect the very huge high resolution data sets even in a multispectral domain. So that is very very useful for various agriculture applications. If you look at the satellite, we have a host of satellites at different resolutions and different periods, which have a different repeativity. Almost every day, more than 1,000 satellites are passing in different parts of the globe, launched by the different countries. So you can imagine every day huge data is collecting for various applications from the satellite, which are mostly either at 900 to 1,000 kilometer from the earth, above the earth, which are moving. Then we have a radar satellite. As I told you, these are all weather satellites which can collect the information at any time, which are very, very useful for the cloudy time, particularly when we have a floods, and if any, even night times also it can collect the information from the Earth surface. And we have a uniqueness of the hyperspectral data, which is again, the very high resolution, very high, information it will collect based, because these satellites have a means on board we have a high resolution hyperspectral sensors, which have a uniqueness in collecting the data in different bands. If more than even 200 300 bands, it can collect the information. So interestingly, the birth of the remote sensing application in the country was in the field of horticulture. So that is a very significantly, contributed in subsequent years. In the year 1971, when the ISRO was just, inceptionalized, so it started the application of particularly aerial-based applications, aerial multispectral-based, studies. So they initiated, they contacted the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. So that time, IRI actually it took the initiative and collaborated with ISRO and developed this, the detection of the coconut plant wilt disease in Kerala. That time was headed by Dakshinamurthy in 1971. So this has made a significant, contribution in subsequent years. Application of the remote sensing in as a whole, agriculture sector. And remote sensing has a unique capability to provide the actual synoptic view of large area at a time. So that is the beauty of these data sets, because it can cover the synoptic view of large areas depend upon the spatial resolution and the spectral resolution. So it can collect the information at a larger areas. Easy data acquisition over inaccessible area to different scales and resolutions. So we need not worry about whether that area is accessible or not, because satellite can collect the information even in inaccessible areas, and so that on a different resolution and different scales. So multispectral images provides a better details of the area than the single band image, because of the information is collected in a different bands. The images can be analyzed in the laboratory, so that minimize the amount of field work, because the remote sensing based applications significantly minimize your field work. So we can go only the select two locations where important field information need to be collected. So there, so that can supplement the whole analysis. So this way, actually, it will help a lot to minimize the field work. If you look at the satellite, the host of satellites are on in operation, run by various countries, right from Landsat series, Spot series, RadarSat, which are say like active sensors. We have a MODIS data set. Every 16-day composites we will get from this MODIS series. So we have high resolution Iconos data, QuickBird data sets. So host of satellites, I put only limited number here, but the variety of satellites are available at various resolutions, at various repeativity periods. So some are actually daily we have a data, some are 16 days we have. So like that, we have a huge data sets is available from the satellite data sets. If you look at this Indian scenario, so India also, the ISRO has launched so many satellites in this Earth observation as a whole, including agriculture and horticulture. We can significantly leverage this opportunity to use the data sets are available from these platforms for various horticulture operations. We have a Cartosat, which is a very high resolution data, 2.5 meter data. Then we have a Cartosat series. Then we have a ResourceSat. We have a 5.8 meter resolution. Then we have a InSat series. So we have the other series like even Cartosat 1 and 2. So various satellite ResourceSat we have. So these are the satellites data which are available for the for users. If you look at a little bit more detail of this remote sensing, when before going for applications, because all the remote sensing, systems have a four types of resolutions which are very important when we are going for applications. The first one is the spatial resolution. What it mean by spatial resolution? The ability actually to resolve or separate the features of the object. So the sensor capability of the spatial resolution depends on how best it can distinguish the characteristics of the say like object. So say for example, in a small field, how best it can distinguish the two crops and sown adjacently by using the particular sensor. So that will reflect the spatial resolution, whether it is a 5-meter resolution, whether it is a 10-meter resolution. 10-meter resolution means every 10 meter by 10 meter we have a value that we call as a TN value, and this value will indicates the signatures of the crop. So the spatial resolution is very, very important when you are going for application. The spectral resolution is also very significantly important, because spectral resolution is nothing but the ability of a sensor to define the fine wavelength of the intervals. So the finer the spectral resolution, the narrower the wavelength range of a particular channel or band. So if you have a more spectral, the wavelengths, so you can capture the information in more detail for various applications. Otherwise, it will generalize the, if spectral resolution is not that much significant, it will generalize the information and put it in one band. So that gives us some limitations to analyze some of the parameters. So always high spectral resolution always preferable for a detailed analysis of a specific phenomenon. The temporal, it is defined as the amount of time needed to visit and acquire data for exact same location. So suppose when a satellite is passing in a particular point, XY location, then after how many days it will come on the same XY location. So that indicate the temporal resolution, whether it is every day, whether it is 15 days, whether it is 16 days, whether it is 21 days. So that defines the temporal resolution of the satellite. For all agriculture operations, actually, we need a more temporal resolution satellites, say like 5 days satellites like Sentinel-2 have a 5 days repeatability. So that is very, very important for a close monitoring of the agriculture crops, particularly horticulture crops. And radiometric resolution stands for the ability of the sensor to distinguish different grayscale levels, grayscale values. So we measured it in bits. How many bits of the data it provides the particular sensor, whether it's a 8-bit data, whether it's a 16-bit or a 32-bit. So that defines the radiometric characteristics of the data. If you have a higher bits data, so you have a better radiometric resolution. So that can give a better ability, to analyze the phenomena. So if you look at the spatial part, so you can see the distinguish the 30-meter resolution. Every 30-meter we have a value here, and we have a 1-meter resolution. So we can very precisely see or monitor the fields using the 1-meter spatial resolution, like icon of satellite compared to 30 meters. Suppose if you are using a larger area, so the 30-meter resolution data will significantly help as compared to the 1-meter data. For small areas, so this data, so even plot by plot, we can even intra-field variables also we can map using this ICONOS high resolution data set. Of course, when we have a satellite data, we have to use a lot of bands, the suitable bands we have to select, and accordingly we have to use for various applications. So this way, you can have a different combination of the bands to generate FCC or the true composite or false color composites. So you can generate, a user can generate the information based on the data sets available from the different satellites. Another important aspect is the hyperspectral data, which is actually giving a many, the bands data for a particular phenomenon, particular aspects. It acquires data in many narrow continuous spectral bands, and this hyperspectral remote sensing using drone systems has a huge application in crop identification and health monitoring for a large scale horticulture applications in the future. So these data sets nowadays are capturing even by drones, and this information have a significantly contribute in analyzing the various the properties of the horticulture crops in the coming years. Another important area is actually GIS, because we are discussing today GIS and remote sensing. So GIS is nothing but in one sentence or in one way we can say this is basically a computer-based system for the efficient input, storage, manipulation, analysis, representation, and retrieval of all forms of spatially indexed and related descriptive data. So all types of the spatial information collected on the ground that can be properly indexed and properly stored and properly analyzed and properly model using these capabilities of the GIS. And this is have a unique capabilities in analyzing the spatial information. Otherwise, without this, even we cannot imagine how to handle the large set databases of a spatial nature. What are the significant, areas where the GIS can help? It allows spatial analysis, modeling, and visualization, which have a powerful spatial analysis capabilities and modeling capabilities and visualization capabilities. One can clearly perform these data set, means these operations when we have a reliable data sets with us. It provides efficient means for spatial data handling. So you can handle the variety of data sets of different resolution satellite data on the different, the scales data on GIS platform. It can also help to maintain the standards and minimize the duplication. This is the one uniqueness of this GIS. You can have standards like OGC standards, then many other standards. We have Indian standards like that we can maintain when we are using any data set, so that can minimize the duplication of the works. And it also significantly help the revision and updating of the spatial data and maps whenever we require. If any modification we need, so we can quickly modify and generate the new variety of data sets using the GIS. Data, it is having a unique capabilities to search the data, and the spatial modeling can be performed more effectively using GIS. No other spatial software have this type of capabilities, and it maximizes the efficiency of the decision making, because the decision making depends on the reliable data sets and the extent of the data set and knowledge. So that decision making will significantly help using the GIS based inputs. So another important, the sector, which is also, we cannot ignore this global positioning system when we are discussing the remote sensing and GIS. So the global positioning systems also provides a current position anywhere at any time on the globe with a reasonable degree of accuracy, because these GPS-based applications are significantly increasing in agriculture, especially in the horticulture sector. The differential GPS is a method to improve the positioning and timing performance of the GPS using one or more reference stations at known location, and each equipped with at least one GPS receiver. So if you want to get the more precise GPS based estimates, or say like ground surveys, we can have a DGPS, and around 200 300 kilometers we can survey with more accuracy, using the GPS, differential GPS. So this gives a better accuracy than the of GPS data sets are available, and these GPS sources are actually, as for if you look at these US based satellites, there are 24 satellites moving in a constellation. When precisely, we need a signals from 4 satellites. So when we have a 4 satellites, we can precisely get the location of the particular location, whether it's a horticulture crop or a garden. So we can precisely locate and geocode that orchard or the location using the this GPS. So that's why GPS has a significant role to play here. So this is the setup of GPS. Actually, it works. We have a ground control station and the space segment, and we have a user segment. So we don't have any control on this. So as a user, we can get the signals from any time from the 4 satellites, and this is also all time all weather conditions it works, and we can collect the information more precisely. Even we can have a travel history, or we can collect even time and other things using the GPS location. So this is also have a significant role to play in the horticulture sector. Now let us see some of these applications. Now all these three sectors like remote sensing and GIS and GPS, how best we can use this, how best we can leverage this, the geospatial technology in the field of horticulture. So let us see some of these application areas. The remote sensing and GIS and GPS technologies have become indispensable in horticulture crops mapping, monitoring, and management. Now we cannot, ignore these technologies, because these are all emerging in such a way which are very handy and very, say like cost effective and time efficient in managing the horticulture crop systems. The remote sensing and GIS application include all stages of data collection, data processing, data management, data analysis, modeling, and presentation. So in all these areas of the data collection and management, analysis, modeling, and data presentation, so these tools and techniques have a significant role to play. With the improvement in spatial, spectral, and temporal resolution of the remote sensing and multispectral imagery remains an advantage due to its real-time or near real-time imagery for visual assessment. So we can even some of the phenomena we can study in a real-time basis. Say for example, floods. We can study in a real time, using this spatial and spectral and temporal resolution of the satellites in more effectively and more efficiently using these technologies. If you look at these applications, you can list out a host of applications where in horticulture sector, so these remote sensing and GIS and GPS can play a significant role. Say like it start with the ground truth collection, and it can of course soil resource mapping, because the soil is very very important for any horticulture crop to grow in a particular climatic conditions. One must know exactly what is the type of soils, the problems and the potential of the soils to grow any particular crop, horticulture crop in that particular location. So hence, the precise soil resource maps are play a very significant role in horticulture, sustainable horticulture sector. Then of course the suitability mapping, then soil moisture assessment, then horticulture crops mapping, drought monitoring, water management, the climate change impact, then crop stress assessment, then yield estimation, damage assessment, crop disease and surveillance, market intelligence, post-harvesting infrastructure, and of course other trending technologies also contributing to this remote sensing and GIS technology in the horticulture sectors. Let us have a look at quickly of some of these applications, how it will help in each sector. Like remote sensing and GPS, GIS and GPS in ground truth data collection is very, very important for precisely locate where exactly which crop is growing where and what is the exact lat long of that particular location. So we can precisely geocode each and every farm if we really apply these these technologies in ground truth collection. So that will help significantly in monitoring a particular crop. If we have a precise location of area and other thing, if we have access, if we have a give the access to the farmers of the particular field, even he can feed the various associate attributes to that the field of a particular crop, horticulture crop. Say for example, a pomegranate, he can give the host of attributes and say for example how many plants he's having, what is the age of the plant, what fertilizer he's applying in that particular location. So that is everything based on the location based services. So these location based services, this technology have a tremendous potential to move in that direction. The various layers of information can easily be collected and edited and modified in the field through using these handheld the devices. Data recorded in the field using GPS can be moved directly to the GPS for further analysis. So we need not worry about this. As soon as we collect the field data from the GPS, either in the form of point form, or it is a line form or polygon form, all these things can readily move to the GIS, and it can be linked with other associated information, and that can be used readily for analysis. So that type of capabilities we have, and we can also substantiate the information from other sources like your other digital devices, then raster images like remote sensing data sets and other tabular format existing maps, all put together and become a good base for any particular horticulture crops to study the spatial crop and spatial phenomena of that particular crop, where how it is growing and where it is growing, where the new areas is coming. So this type of phenomena we can analyze using these ground based location based services. Another important area, which is actually the soil resource database, which is National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning immensely leveraging these technologies in soil resource mapping at various levels. So soil resource forms a crucial input for farm management practices, and it has a direct impact on the yield. So the precisely the type of soil and the properties of the soil available in the particular area where a horticulture crop is planning, which will play a significant role. So these type of information NBSS is generating at different scales, and these generated data sets are extensively using by various horticulture institutes in coming out on different suitability maps for different crops. Then high resolution satellite data and GIS play a significant role in terrain analysis, landform mapping, and soil resource resource mapping. So we are actually at NBSS. So these information are extensively using at these different levels for mapping the soil. So ultimately, these products are goes to the crop planning, like the field crops or horticulture crops. Then GIS and GPS have immense potential in soil fertility mapping, which have a huge applications in sustainable agriculture, because the precise and the location of the, or say like the properties of the soil fertility on that particular location have a significant role in horticulture crops, in the horticulture sector. So many states, or some of the states, and we have a map already the soil fertility at even at a block level. So those information can be used by this horticulture sector. Then, of course, hyperspectral remote sensing systems helps to characterize some of the soil properties and develop the spectral signatures, which can be monitored and can be continuously developed, and later we can correlate with the other spectrals and come out with the we can fasten the process of deriving some of the parameters like organic carbon, estimation of organic carbon, like that. So this way, this in soil resource aspects, because ultimately the soil is a base for all the horticulture crops and field crops. So here actually these technologies are significantly helping in mapping the soil resources. If you look at some of the soil resources of India, say like Maharashtra, we have different various type of soil properties which are mapped. Say for example, landforms and the soil depth, because it's very important for various crops, which was used for in deriving in identifying the suitable areas for different crops. And now actually we are also using this Bhumi portal, actually geo portal. So we are putting all the information which are available at NBSS and other resources and other institutes, so that the user can see and visualize actually what type of information is available in a particular location. So that can be used, or that can be getting information of that particular location to plan a particular resources. So huge data sets are available in this portal, which are user friendly and open access. So that way, actually, the information can be seen and on various parameters. We are also having a lot of soil quality information, because this is very important for horticulture crops. If you look at this soil quality, for example, acid soil, because this have a significant importance for a particular some of the crops. Say, for example, tea cultivation, then pineapple cultivation, and even some other, say, like rubber cultivation. So for these type of the crops, so this soil information have a significant play role in this suitability analysis. And recently, we are also in collaboration with FAO, NBITS, and LUP has developed this organic carbon stock map, and this also helps to see the what is the organic carbon status in a particular location, and that will also helps even for organic carbon sequestration and many other the crop planning activities across India. And we also did some of the the state-wise the soil quality maps. Say, for example, different parameters, say like available potassium. This is very important for some of the crops, horticulture crops, where the potassium, what is the level of potassium in that particular block or even district, and what is the zinc status at different levels or different states. So this is developed at our Bangalore Center, Regional Center, Bangalore. So this way, actually, you can have a variety of information at the spatial scale, and we can put this information in association with other information, horticulture information. So that gives a very formidable combination to come out with the say like informative decisions in this sector. And we also did for some of the state like West Bengal, we did a detailed soil organic carbon versus soil fertility mapping. I'm just putting one block of soil organic carbon of the Birbhum district. So we can see the what is the status of the soil organic carbon in this district, and where we have a low and medium high. Accordingly, a particular crop can be planted, because this organic carbon plays a significant role in horticulture crops. So this way, actually, this type of spatial information from the soil side significantly contribute, and the NBSS has done a tremendous job in various mapping the soil resources at different scales. Another important aspect, this is actually the agroecological information. This is actually of course here also GIS technologies have been significantly used and mapped these agroecological regions, the 20 agroecological regions across India, by using the physiography, soil, bioclimatic conditions in GIS, and put all the maps and systematically model and come out with the 20 agroecological regions. And each agroecological region has a uniqueness in terms of its physiography, soil, and bioclimate for a particular horticulture crops. To plan a particular horticulture crops, this database will be immensely helpful. Similarly, we have a further, subdivided these 20 agroecological regions to 60 agroecological subregions based on the further narrow downing the length of growing period and other, more detailed data set of soils. So these 60 agroecological subregions, again, have a very precisely gives the physiography, then soil, then bioclimatic and soil, other, land use properties on that particular location. And this is significantly helps the even agrotechnology transfer in horticulture crops and identification of suitable crops in different agroecological regions. So this way, this will become a strong base to move forward in the sustainable horticulture sector. If you come to this, some of these further applications, actually remote sensing and GIS is significantly used in identification of suitable areas for different crops. So we are closely working with the National Research Center of Pomegranate, Solapur, and with their collaboration, actually, we have actually developed, both in collaboration with NRCP. So around the suitability maps for about 15 states, the first drops have been completed, and we are refining further based on some of the inputs received from the NRCP Solapur. So this way, actually, we are fine tuning the maps, and these maps gives the precisely actually which are the districts prominently suitable for pomegranate. So this type of information, spatial information, is very clearly helps to concentrate which are the clusters we have for this particular crop. Accordingly, the various your infrastructure, then your market infrastructure, all these can be developed for these clusters where we have a high potential for this particular crop. So this way, these are the actually input maps actually we have used in the GIS of the different, right from the climate to soil, temperatures, various other parameters, host of parameters, and come out with this suitability by applying around 8 to 10 parameters by giving the different weights in the GIS based model. And this way, actually, this type of information at state level, even at a district level, we can have a detailed analysis or detailed mapping. And if you look at the district level, say for example, Solapur is it's a hub of pomegranate. we can see the majority area is actually suitable, and we have some visits in this this Sangola Tehsil in the last year. So these areas are significantly highly suitable for this pomegranate. These are most of the export quality pomegranate they are growing in this area. So this way, these maps are very useful for a particular crop planning. And we also working with NRC Grapes Pune in identification of the suitable areas for grapes. So it is again because the crop to crop is a different experience, and working with a different team of people. So it is altogether different experience and different criteria. So we also developed NRC grapes also developed in collaboration with NPS and LUP the suitability for grapes. And we recently developed for the two states like Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh, and this is actually they're actually validating like these are the points they have already the information, so they are validating the outputs which we have generated. So and they are finally come out with the the what you can say like suggestions if at all anything we would like to change. So this way actually maps will help significantly in this area. So if this is in this case, if suppose highly suitable areas, we have a Satara and Sangli. These are the some of the areas which are coming is highly suitable for these grapes, which are already in a hub of this export quality grapes in this particular state. And we are also having a very good experience with Indian Institute of Oil Palm Research, Pedavegi, because we are also having the collaboration. IIPO are also collaboration with NBS and LUP, and even areas for oil farm research in India. So, as for the committee formed by the Honorable Director General ICAR, actually this exercise has been completed because NBS Director NBS and LUP is also member of that committee. So from NBSS actually we significantly contributed in identification of the suitable areas for oil palm for different states. I'm showing only one state here, Manipur. So, but across India, actually it was identified after so many series of meetings. So in identification of the input parameters, their weights and their outputs. So these are the step-by-step procedure actually we have followed in identification of the suitable areas for oil palm, and this will really helpful for the state government and the government of India for a plan a particular crop on a particular area and allocate the resources and for other associated say like marketing and other things can be planned accordingly. So what are the information we have actually we may put in the portal form in the subsequent years, but NBSS as alone actually has developed some of the suitability areas for the different crops. Say around 17-18 crops including field crops actually suitability analysis has been carried out. So in this exercise, I'm showing one crop that is a tea cultivation in India. If you look at this highly suitable, moderate suitable, and marginally suitable area, so which are the areas are suitable, highly suitable for the tea cultivation? So we can see clearly, and if you zoom it, because this is a zoom in and zoom out, so you can see the clearly which districts are suitable for the particular tea cultivation. So like rubber, like coffee, then many other crops. So we can have a detailed analysis of this. So another important contribution from NBS and LUP is that for many crops actually the suitability criteria has been developed by our colleagues at the Bangalore Center. So for using various parameters and field-based experiences, so they come out with a bulletin of crop suitability for different crops. So that is significantly contributing in developing the maps in a special domain across India. Another important area is actually soil moisture assessment using these important tools, because the soil moisture also play a significant role in horticulture sector. So estimation of the soil moisture content is an important aspect of precision irrigation water management, because all the most of these horticultural crops are precision based irrigation systems they have. So the moisture availability and the requirement is very important for any particular horticulture crops. So like some of this high resolution data sets like Sentinel-2 SAR data, this is actually active sensors data considered to be the potential in driving soil moisture content and characterized by high resolution backscatter data. So this gives precisely you can map the soil moisture in a particular area in a large areas, and that gives input for the irrigation scheduling and applying water and what improve the water use efficiency in the particular crop. The SAR data also is of course highly suitable for assessing the soil moisture content in a particular crop. So accordingly, even using the precision agriculture techniques, so we can use the water where exactly it's required and where it's not required, so we can minimize the soil, water use in that particular. Thus, that way, the water use efficiency can be significantly improved using this ICT and remote sensing based inputs in this sector. Another important thing is that exactly this mapping of horticulture crops, which is very very important in any particular country. So there is a wide variety of open source multispectral data is available at different spatial and temporal resolution for horticulture crops mapping. And of course, these already initiatives already taken by MNFC at Delhi, because they are mapping some of the crops on a periodical level. But we have to map all the major all the horticulture crops, so that we can have a significant the data sets which will help in many aspects in a planning and the marketing and even post harvesting infrastructure and other things. So these unsupervised and supervised image segmentation techniques are emerging to distinguish the horticulture crops from the other crops. So this is a one say like a plus point we have in mapping the horticulture crops, because these crops can be easily distinguished from the field crops because of their structure, because of their duration, and some are perennial crops. So this way, we have some advantage in mapping these horticulture crops compared to other crops. So, but this should be leveraged in full extent, so that we can map the each crop precisely actually where they are growing and how much acreage is there under each crop. Of course, the ground data anyway it is there, so that can be a supplementary to this data set. Of course, these both are complementary. It will go as a complementary, so, say like both space-based and ground-based inputs to come out with a very precise database of any particular crop. So techniques, then machine learning techniques and deep learning techniques are which are emerging in nowadays to extract the information, hidden information from the satellite imageries of the temporal satellite data analysis. So that will automate a lot of procedures in mapping and improving the accuracy in mapping horticulture crops. If you look at this little bit post data sets, we have every 16 days composites we have. If you look at this, the important, of course, here actually the most of these crops, like say like though it is a rice wheat belt, but the significant area under various, say like tomatoes, many other crops also grows in this area, say like part of eastern part of IGP. If you look at this temporal scale data set in this area, say 1st January data mix, the crop data looks like this. If I go the 7th April, so majority crops are actually harvested and the fields are empty. But if you look at the 10th June, again the crops are starting. By 29th August, entire area is occupied by the crops. So we can study the dynamics of the crops in the particular location. If you go to the very local area, district or a little local area, so we can precisely see actually what type of dynamics in that particular area having in terms of extent of crops in that particular location. So we can map especially a particular crop if we precisely pick up this spectral signature of that particular crop in this using this type of temporal data set. Of course, we have high resolution data sets. Even we can go at plot level. So this is a part of citrus growing areas in central India. So this area you can see actually where this, if you go to the summer time, we can precisely locate where we have a citrus crops. So those areas can be mapped using this high resolution data. Even we can have acreage estimation based on this type of analysis of a particular crop. So this type of information, realistic statistics regarding the coverage of a particular horticulture crop would serve as a useful information for market planning and trade related decisions in a particular area. Of course, already some of these efforts already going on in mapping some of the crops across India. Of course, if you go a little bit more detail, even we can go for intra-field variability in a particular horticulture crop. So which plant having what type of if any defected plants are there, or healthy plants are, those things also can be mapped using very high resolution data sets in a particular plot. So this way also the information can be properly analyzed and develop the data set. Another important element or sector, this drought monitoring, significantly have impact on horticulture crops, particularly the semi-arid region of the India. In the last century, worldwide droughts have increased their frequency and duration and intensity, because this gives a huge impact on horticulture crops, because the horticulture crops are long duration crops. So if any time a drought hit, so the entire crop is lost and the farmer is in distress. So it is very, again to build this or to grow this crop is very, very difficult, because it takes a long time. These Earth observation satellites provide a comprehensive synoptic and multi-temporal coverage of a large areas in a temporal scale, and become a valuable inputs for continuous monitoring of droughts, so that we can see actually which of the crops are vulnerable for droughts, and which are the districts and which are the areas, and what type of horticulture crops in that particular location, so that we can have some sort of warning in the before appearance of these droughts, so that the farmers can take the measures, or the planners can take the measures accordingly using these type of monitoring. So horticulture sector is especially sensitive to the drought, as it has a direct consequences on food security, of course, health and the economic situation of the country. Because in some of the times, if the drought hits, so this entire production will be lost, and that way, and even it triggers many other associated problems in horticulture crops due to high temperature and other aspects. So this NADAMS X-ray, this project by ISRO, is using this remote sensing based inputs and multispectral integrated ground data and meteorological information for mapping the for monitoring the droughts for across 13 states, but it needs to be mapped across India, so that all the parts of the country we can see where we have any weather changes are occurring. So accordingly, we can have a contingency plan to cope up that type of phenomena. If you look at this, the indices, we have a host of indices are available to map these droughts using the satellite-based indices, and depend upon the condition, depend upon the requirement and objective. So we can select the indices and we can map the different parameters. If you look at this NDVI, this is one indices among all the indices which we have listed. So we can see how they actually this NDVI of a particular period. So this is actually mean NDVI. If you go at monthly, we can see very clearly actually which month have a low NDVI in which place and high NDVI in where. So all these things can be seen, and this will form as a base for monitoring the droughts, across India, and we can come out with different plans to cope up that type of droughts. Another important is that water resource management in horticulture. This is a precision systems like timing and amount, that is increase the crop water use efficiency and crop yield. If you have a precisely we manage the water resources in horticulture crops. So remote sensing applications have huge applications in precision irrigation, estimation of crop water status, and evapotranspiration losses, then soil and crop characteristics, so that accordingly the water can be released where actually it demands in the field. So the use of AMS instruments are actually field systems also, fielders and ground sensors. This can monitor soil and offer the potential to irrigate in accordance with the raw conditions. Maybe we have a installed so this will give a continuous orchard. So information on soil water status can be sent directly to the computer and mobile devices and internet to automatically activate the irrigation controls as and when required. Even farmer need not go to the field. Sitting at home, he can give the command. Yes, the water is required in a particular part of the say like horticulture area. So water automatically starts and move to the a particular location. So this way, this can be made each automation, so that we can avoid this water stress based water stress related problems in the horticulture sector. Another important thing is the changing climate, and we know these are all we are experiencing so many weather aberrations. So the changing climate and horticulture crops, there is a direct impact of this changing climate. So when we are mapping these agroecological regions, we observe that this bioclimatic shift in the bioclimatic also is happening due to the changes in terms of temperature and rainfall over a period of 30 years, last 30 years, say like 1990 to 2018. Say like if you look at this part, the semi-arid moist region is reduced over a period of time, and it became a semi-arid dry. This is the eastern India, as is important area for different crops, horticultural crops. So this way, actually, this also has a huge impact on the horticulture and health of the horticultural crops and overall sustainability of horticultural crops in this area. But this way, actually, it has a huge impact on a horticulture sector as well. Even if you look at this, the length of growing period, because the period available for some of the crops, particularly this is important in semi-arid region. So this semi-arid region and this region, actually the length of growing period also is reducing because of the rainfall patterns and changes in temperature. So this way, so this also give an information, to plan the particular crops in a particular region. Particularly in this region, we have changes. So this way, this spatial information have a significant role to play in mapping the various horticulture crops. Another important thing due to the climate change, or you can say like weather aberrations, which we are frequently seeing. This is the flooding or cyclones. These are all extreme weather events which are we have experienced in the last 4 or 5 years, in particularly East Coast and West Coast. So these cyclones have a significant impact on horticulture crops. Some of the horticulture crops like banana and many other crops. So the potential changing climate will have a considerable impact on horticulture productivity across the globe. So these type of phenomena can be mapped and monitored using the space-based applications. Like climate change may alter the growth patterns and flowering and fruiting of horticulture plants. Even small changes in a temperature, because horticulture is a domain specialist know better than anybody else. If a small change in a temperature can trigger a lot of issues in flowering, say for example like mango, so that may even change the whole production scenario in the country. So it also affects the small changes in temperature and the rainfall also affect the microbial activity in the soil, and of course the overall soil fertility, and that also contribute to the overall production of the horticulture crops. And it also triggers a lot of new pests and pathogens may become prevalent and damaging the horticulture crops. If you look at this current scenario for the last 15-20 days, continuously raining in some part of the peninsular India, probably many horticulture crops are facing the pest and pathogen problems because of this the high humidity content existing in the present prevailing conditions. So this type of changes which are experiencing in each and every part of the country. So these type of things also can precisely need to be mapped and record in spatially, so that it helps the develop this some strategies in the coming years. Remote sensing and GIS play a significant role in assessment of damages due to the extreme weather events. So we can also see how where the crop is damaged and what extent and where. So those things also can be used for various applications. So for example, in extreme weather events and crop damage, so this type of damages we can precisely map, because once the crop is damaged by extreme weather events, whether it is a flooding, whether it is a hailstorm or any other cyclone or heavy winds. So this way, immediately this the canopy and the structure of the plant is totally changes as compared to before, and that gives helps the satellites to pick up signals. What was the earlier condition? What is the present condition? So one can compare and see where the changes are occurring, and with minimum ground truth, one can map this the damage, the extent of the damage in a particular crop. These conventional methods are generally labor intensive and limited sampling points only we can collect. But this type of space-based applications, we can go for the large extent areas in a shorter duration time with a more efficient and less subjectivity. So that is the beauty of this whole exercise based on the satellite-based applications. The remote sensing also open up an effective and unique avenue for fast and accurate investigations of hailstorm affected areas, because it needs the immediate intervention in terms of insurance, in terms of other rehabilitation aspects, say like picking the affected fruits to the market. So these type of things will help in a faster way. The multiple resolutions remote sensing images have been widely used in assessing hail damage and hailstorm damage in across various studies are reported using these high resolution satellite data. Of course, NDVI also is one important index one can use this one to assess and change the change detection analysis and extract quickly the spatial distribution of affected crops of a particular area, where we have hailstorms or wind affected or any other weather event affected areas in the horticulture sector. Another important is stress is one important area, particularly in semi-arid and arid regions, because this is a regular phenomenon. Stress say like due to the less requirement of due to the non-availability of water resources and many other high temperatures and other thing. This stress is also very important. Of course, for some crops, stress is required for horticulture crops, but certain, but it's not cross the threshold limit. So, due to any regions of this one, those things can be mapped, because once we have stress, your canopy content and chlorophyll content of the plant will change. So, those things can be mapped using the high resolution data sets. Like remote sensing and GIS are the prevailing technologies for visualizing, diagnosing, and quantifying the plant stress responses. Those things can be mapped by using these data sets. Any individual stress can impact a wide range of different phenological processes and affect yields if it go beyond threshold limit. So it affects definitely the yield of a particular horticulture crop. Stress responses to the temperature, drought, flooding, salinity, and mineral toxicity and infection, which can be correlated with the soil properties and many other associated properties, so that a domain expert can come out with a solution to mitigate these type of the stresses which are frequently coming in some of the areas. Either it is a abiotic stress or maybe a biotic stress. Those things can be precisely mapped and come out with contingency plans to mitigate these type of crop stresses, particularly horticulture crops. So factors such as climate, soil properties, and nutrients, crop canopy, and biomass, water content, which affect the crop yields, can be precisely mapped using these remote sensing based inputs. So that will significantly help in identifying these crop stress zones in a particular horticulture sector. Another important area is that yield estimation. Suppose if you have a large extent area, this yield estimation is very, very important for various reasons. So high resolution satellite data has a huge potential to assess a crop yield and their proxies. Maybe sometimes you may get some proxy variables. Those based on these proxy variables, one can infer the yield of this particular horticulture crops based on the high resolution data sets. So large number of empirical models have been developed already to relate various parameters, say like weather parameters, then soil parameters, many other socioeconomic parameters we can relate to the model, and we can integrate in the model to come out the realistic estimates of the yield of a particular horticulture crop. The more accurate and reliable production estimates help reduce uncertainty in the crops, so that planners can plan actually how much production is estimated and expected in this particular season. So according to these market strategies and post-harvesting technology, post-harvesting infrastructure can be geared up to store that horticulture product to minimize the post-harvest losses and other things. So this is very, very important area of our horticulture crops. However, for many crops, the use of satellite data for yield estimation still is a scientific challenge, because some of the crops still is a challenge. Of course, the technology is emerging. Hope in the coming years, so most of these, the challenges can be overcome using these technologies. There is a need to include many other agriculture information to develop the good yield models. That's why, because satellite data alone may not give you sufficient information for crop yield, but you have to have associated information to become a formidable combination to come out with a good yield predictions of a particular crop. Because some of these object-based image analysis techniques are coming. Even you can suppress the entire canopy of the plant, horticulture plant, and it can count how many fruits are there in that particular plant. So these type of technologies, mission readable technologies are coming. So those things can be used in this yield estimation. And yield estimates and mapping using remote sensing and GIS at a different administrative level, say for example district and state, have a huge applications, so that the district administration can gear up the machinery to handle that type of product in terms of market and transport and other aspects. And another important is the disease surveillance part. This is also a very important area, particularly for horticulture crops, because when we have a high temperature, then particularly high humidity, on a long duration rainfall, means suppose if you have a rainfall for a week continuously, so it triggers so many diseases which need to be addressed, and which need to be mitigate in a very short notice. So these type of technologies will really help to identify the where actually this is infested areas are there in different horticulture crops. The remote sensing technology provides a spatial distribution of information on disease and pest over a large area with relatively low cost. So that way, actually, one can have the advantage of the technology in identifying the or having the surveillance on a particular disease. With the help of satellite imagery and spatial analysis techniques in GIS, of course, crop infected areas can be identified and mapped. For that, whether it's weather-based or the soil-based reasons, soil-borne or weather-borne, what are the reasons one can analyze, expert can analyze and come out with the solutions based on the information. The changes in spectral reflectance can indicate the phenological states in crops that result from the changes in photosynthesis pigments such as chlorophyll or carotenoids and other factors. So one can see based on these, the parameters, and can see what type of disease is occurring and how it is moving from one direction to another direction. So one can map one can track actually how this is moving, and we can have a proper plan to mitigate that type of there's a large scale disease surveillance factors. Another important is the crop insurance sector, where actually even many the reports have emphasized the importance of this ICT and satellite-based inputs in crop insurance, because slowly now all the crop insurance policies and these things are also using this the satellite-based inputs in dispersing the crop insurances on different crops. The ICT technologies and satellite and UAV drone-based remote sensing provides the reliable estimates in crop insurance in addressing the crop insurance issues. ICT can be used to develop a web-based insurance portal for better management of crop insurance. So one can precisely geocodate the crop, and if any insurance is required, so we planner or whoever is paying the insurance, they know that how much area is there, how many plants affected, and what is the extent of damage. So accordingly, they can precisely, more scientifically, they can plan this insurance policy or insurances in the crop insurance aspect. The smartphone applications like mobile apps can be developed for collection of the information, crop cutting experiments and damage and insurance. Of course, crop cutting experiments are already using these GIS-based inputs, but this can be fast on the things, and we can have a totally 100% GPS-based crop cutting experiments and damage control, and which will help us significantly in crop insurance policy. And many national schemes are already in place for insurance. So these inputs can be taken as a significant, play as a significant role in the crop insurance policies, these remote sensing and ICT-based applications, so that the really what we can say, the needy people or needy farmers can get the insurance in the right time, by using the technologies. Of course, this variable rate technology is also one important area in horticultural crops. Of course, it gives actually the variable rate fertilizer and the pesticides application, then variable rate irrigation, and determine the variable rate variability and the causes for that variability, determine the possible actions required, and determine the economics of the actions. What is the economics involved for a particular action? So those things can be automated using this, the sensor-based variable rate technologies, either a tractor mounted or any system mounted, or even on the go sensors will give reliable estimates of this different variable rate technologies, which have a which can help significantly in horticultural crops, so that we can improve the efficiency in either is water use efficiency or fertilizer use efficiency, and many other the overall efficiency of the system using this type of technologies. Of course, using this type of technologies, we can have it intra-field variability. We can see where the affected areas using this, the field-based sensors and variable rate technology sensors, so that those areas only fertilizer can be applied. You can have a uniform production in the plot. So that way, these technologies have a significant role. So, like here also shows the satellite based in intra-field variability of using the high resolution satellite. Though it is the same field, but we have a variability within the field. So these things can be mapped and can have a measures accordingly to mitigate this type of process. And we can also use this, the high resolution satellite data of for any horticulture crops, and we can put on the terrain. We can see actually which the horticulture crops having at what elevation. Is there any drainage issues, or is there any water related issues? So those things can be mapped and can be taken measures accordingly. Which plots require immediate attention in terms of drainage problems or any other issues based on the elevation information. So this type of information also helps in a particular in area in precisely locating a plot and their remedial measures for a particular horticulture crops. Of course, high resolution variability, even soil variability also we can see. Accordingly, this variability will help to map, and this variability will give a significant inputs when you are having the horticulture crop in that particular area. So based on that variability, whether it is a soil fertility variability, or say like variability in depth, variability in pH. So accordingly, the measures can be taken in mitigating these type of variabilities to have a uniform yields. Of course, nowadays actually these technologies also emerging. We call actually the trending technologies. These technologies we cannot avoid. These are also have a huge potential in horticulture crops for a precise, for having a more precision-based applications in horticulture. So like drone-based crop monitoring, and drones have been applied to monitor crop area, estimate yield, crop water requirement, and nutrition requirement in a particular area, because this also can give a hyperspectral database and even multispectral data. So those data sets can be precisely analyzed and map which area is affected by what. So those things can be help in monitoring the various horticulture crop problems. Then drones are also being used to spray pesticides on crops. So some of the studies shows that drones can increase the speed of spraying by 5 times as compared to any other machinery-based spraying. So because this can ensure the uniformity in spraying, and you can fix the height of the drones, and accordingly you can give the more effective spraying of the pesticides in a particular crop. Of course, this involves a cost. These things are there limitations, but however, which have a tremendous potential in horticulture crops using the drone technology. Another important trending technology, the robotics, robots in horticulture, because this is particularly in some advanced countries, they're already using these robots in horticulture because they have huge, gardens. So it is not possible for any manpower to complete the operations, various operations by manually. So robots will help in plowing and seeding, fertilizing, then weeding, harvesting, spraying, which requires a large amount of manpower. So those things can be minimized and reduced. We can also reduce time and resources. The robots could be employed in large scale operations, because the robots, it can work in all weather conditions. It can work in any harsh conditions. So that the advantage of these robots in horticulture conditions, even if it is raining, it can work in that particular area of any operation. And another advantage of this robotics have its works based on the sensor systems. So suppose if you put it in harvesting process, so this robots can pick only the fruits which are exactly ripened, and the fresh means like this unripened fruits it leave it, and only the which are ready to harvest, those fruits only it will pick. And even it can even test some of these robots also having this what you can say like grading facilities there, and then it will grade the fruits accordingly. You can directly pack it and send to the market within a short time. That's what you can also save the time. So these type of things are coming emerging using this, and it can also help a lot of market logistics. That's what the fasten the process, and with the minimum damage for the crops. So this way actually the robotics also playing a significant role in horticulture crops. Hopefully in India also may come these type of applications in large scale in the coming years. And the machine learning tools also, which are machine learning techniques in horticulture, this is also one emerging area, particularly in species recognition, then soil management, then water management, yield prediction, then crop quality, then disease identification, and weed detection. So those things can be, because this totally works based on the sensor and unmanned. So it will move in the field, and it automatically detect the operation, whatever operation we have given the command. Accordingly, it will perform, and it will complete the operation based on the inputs we have given. So these all actually the machine learning based instruments, or say like robots also having with machine learning techniques. can work in the horticulture crops and in harvesting and many other operations. Another important aspect is like the GIS and IoT based market intelligence, because market play a significant role in horticulture sector, because farmer need a market for his product in a right time, in a right place, in a short duration. So we have to understand the market intelligence is very very important for any horticulture sector. So like farmer sitting in his field, he should know actually exactly how much product is received in a particular market today, so that he can plan, he can select the market, which market he has to go, and where he is getting better prices. So that way he can plan the resources and plan his product based on this market intelligence. And this also helps from the planning side. This market intelligence is the information related to market trends, competitors, then customer monitoring, gathered and analyzed specifically for the purpose of accurate and confident decision making in determining the strategy in areas such as market opportunity and market penetration. So planners also, it is very very useful, how much product is actually expected in the coming week. So suppose we have a geocoded, already GIS based information, it is available. So farmer can give a feed in his field, so that he how much product he is supposed to, or he is expecting another week, so that that information go to the central place, and the central place or any administrator or any planner can know actually how much product he is expecting in the next week or in next 15 days, so that he can plan and he can mobilize the resources and you can guide the farmers. You have to go to this place or this market, and this is a very very important in this, identifying the potential market areas and better prices for the, ultimately this price and market prices are very very important for any horticulture farmer to get a better remunerative process, either it is in India or in abroad. So this type of intelligence is very very important. Market, that too GIS based and IoT based intelligence market system is very very important for a horticulture sector especially. Of course, another important aspect is that post harvesting infrastructure. This is again very important for, because now in the horticulture sector is very, going in a faster mode. We are getting some of the products in a large quantum of amount. So those things should be properly stored. Though we have a robust infrastructure, across India, but for some of the crops it is available for many crops. Say like for example, many times we are seeing the, they are throwing the tomatoes in outside. So because of this, so many market gluts and puts lack of storage infrastructure. So we need a lot of infrastructure, post harvesting infrastructure at every locations, nearby locations, say either at the tehsil level or at a district level, so that the farmers can properly put it in post harvesting, select minimize the post harvest losses by using these cold storage facilities, like post harvesting infrastructure facilities such as harvesting, pre-coding and cold storage systems, grading, packing, transportation, marketing, which all are related actually location actually. So that's why GIS can give a tremendous solutions for this post harvesting infrastructure, and in a real time basis it can work, so that the farmer also know actually which facility are where available, so that if you want to store his product for quite some time, so he can utilize that facility. So that way this post harvesting infrastructure facility should be a digital mode, so that this will help significantly in in minimizing the losses and getting the better remunerative prices for the farming community. Another important technologies, trending technologies, blockchain technologies emerging in this entire supply chain process. Say like from farmer to regular consumer. So entire thing you can track using this blockchain technology. This actually improves the transparency in the whole supply chain, and this can be traceable for consumers. Actually, consumer also can trace actually when actually it was harvested in the field, and where it is coming, and who are the distributors and who are the retailers, and this every stakeholder have a information actually where the product is moving and at what time it is dispatching to the consumer. So this using this blockchain technology. So entire thing is like using this technology, it can be put it in a chain, using this blockchain technology. It also provides immediate payment delivery systems to the say like a farmer, and provide farmers with direct access to the suppliers. So farmer also knows actually where the more demand is there, so he can also move on that direction and send the product in that direction. This also help the robust system in the supply chain process. So if you look at this all these the areas which we discussed, so there are emerging the various advantages of this remote sensing and GIS applications, which are very valuable tools in mapping and monitoring of horticulture crops, particularly because this is the one primary essential important because we should know actually which crop is growing where and what is the condition of the crop. So that gives tremendous inputs for various planning processes. So remote sensing based images can be used to identify nutrient deficiencies, disease, and water deficiency and weed infestations in the horticulture. And the remote sensing technology can also be used to assess and various abiotic and abiotic stresses in a different horticultural crops. The process of data acquisition analysis in GIS is faster because once we put it in GIS, the database, so one can easily analyze and come out with the analysis and solutions in a spatial, location-based services. This can be possible to give the advisory to the farmers in a particular part or a particular place of given the time with better accuracy, particularly when we have a extreme weather events. So if the crop is a large scale devastation is there, so one can easily quickly check the how much area is affected, so that using the change detection technologies or change detection techniques, one can map the precisely how much area is affected and how much area is damaged. And the remote sensing and GIS are very useful for suggesting action plans and particularly these location based actions and managing strategies in horticulture crops as a whole. Of course, there are challenges in this field as well. The challenges basically, as far as India is concerned, the one biggest challenge is that we have a small land holding sizes. So if we have a large land holding sizes, it is easy for for various regions for applying these technologies. If you have a small land holding size, so this have some limitations in analyzing the satellite data and developing the database. And diversity of crops sown in a particular area. Within a small area, if you have a diversity of crops are there, horticulture crops are associated with field crops, so that it gives a complexity that enhances the complexity in applying these technologies, which needs a more robust techniques and more precise, say like algorithms to come out to come out these type of complex situations. And the variability of sowing and harvesting dates. This is also again important area, particularly for some vegetable crops. So some crops they are sowing, some crops are harvesting, and a different location and different parts. So this is also it's add a complexity in the overall, in the various operations of the in a real-time based applications for remote sensing and GIS based applications. Another is intercropping and mixed cropping practices. So this is another challenge, particularly where we have, say, for example, in case of tea gardens, we have a canopy, a shaded canopy is there. Say, for example, if in cocoa, this is they are growing sometimes below the, say like coconut. So this type of crops, sometimes intercrops and mixed crops, has a challenge in using these technologies. And extensive cloud cover during the rainy season. Of course, this can be some extent, of course, maximum extent can be overcome by using the active sensors like radar data. Availability of availability of right remote sensing data at right time. This is one of the important challenge because suppose if a user say want to assess the damage in a shorter time, so he needs a right remote sensing data at right time. So this is actually very important challenge. But one positive thing in this note is that year after year we are getting so many say like open source data sets are available. Hope in coming years we will get a more open source data sets. Any user can use the readily available in real time satellite data set for various applications. Availability of sufficient high resolution data. because this is one important element, because most of these horticulture crops require high resolution data. The high resolution satellite data's availability is one important area, because nowadays high resolution satellites are coming, which will give important to meet this gap in the coming years. A high cost for acquiring high resolution data, particularly for aerial based applications. Aerial based, suppose if you want to fly the drone, so it requires various procedures and cost involved. So high resolution acquiring, particularly from aerial platforms, it involves the cost. Underuse of satellite data sets in some cases. Of course, when you compare to the other countries across the globe, we are still a little bit low in utilizing the satellite data in various sectors. Of course, horticulture is not an exception. So, but there is a huge potential is there in applying these technologies or these data sets which are available in public domain in free of cost, so that those things can be effectively used in this sector. And India needs a horticulture grid databases, because we have to have a grids actually. So suppose if you have a horticulture grid is there, either it is a regional grid or a national grid, so one can see either from international market or from a national market how much product is available at the grid at the moment, and how much is expecting another 15 days in a month, so that that grid can give the information to the market in other locations, so that the effective market strategies can be developed if you have a grid based or a cluster based approaches in this horticulture. Because for most of the logistics are depend on the cluster based approach is very very important, or grid based. The products can have at the grid level, so that that can be information can be transmitted to the various locations, so that that market can have a better remunerative prices can be can be get by the farmer. The non-availability of space-based horticulture data in time, of course, that is actually the space-based horticulture data for planners. Actually, if any planners or any like decision makers, you need a information on a short duration. So sometimes it is not available, because manual approaches and traditional approaches, conventional approaches may not give you sufficient data in a right time in a short duration. So the planners need data in a short time, so that because if it is not available any data and realistic data at the right time, so it is difficult to take the decisions, appropriate decisions to handle that type of situations. So space-based applications can give a substantial inputs in a realistic way in real time for this to meet this challenge. Of course, development of effective institutional arrangements is very very important. So most of these operations are say like applications which are multidisciplinary and multi-institutional approach. So institutes have to collaborate with other potential institutes to come out with effective solutions. That way we can have a quality and the products, and we can come out with very effective solutions for various horticulture based say like applications. It definitely needs international collaborations. That way it significantly helps in applying this remote sensing and GIS. So in conclusion, we can say like this remote sensing and GIS and GPS technologies, they play a significant role in identification of say particularly these potential areas for various horticulture crops, because that gives exactly precisely how much area is highly potential for a particular crop, so that we can have expansion strategies, we can have marketing strategies, we can have various input side and supply side. So various plans for it helps, and we can see the what type of agroclimatic conditions available in that area, and whether this type of agroclimatic conditions are available elsewhere to promote this crop in other areas of the country. So these type of things can be a plan when we have a precise and means potential areas. So in this direction, in the recent times, actually NBSS has significantly contributed, and other institutes collaborated with NBSS, and NBSS has significantly helped the institutes in come out with the potential areas for some of these horticulture crops. And space-based inputs and digital technologies optimize the resource use efficiency in horticulture sectors. No doubt, the space-based inputs and digital technologies have a significant role and plays a tremendous, gives a tremendous inputs, improve the resource efficiency, whether it is a water resource or is any other resource, fertilizer resource use efficiency in horticulture sectors. And high resolution remote sensing data could be used effectively in monitoring of horticulture crops, because periodical monitoring is also important for some of the regions, say in terms of production, in terms of pest and diseases. So there also these inputs have a great role in achieving this monitoring aspect. Of course, GIS and ICT technologies are boon for horticulture plants. So one can easily use these technologies right from farm to market and consumer, and so that we can minimize the harvesting losses, and we can see the strategies actually where the suppose if somebody want to put up in cold harvesting storages, so that we can see using the GIS and ICT technology, which are the nearby, cold harvesting storages are available, so that accordingly, all these thing can be achieved. But it needs a lot of associated information. It needs road network. It needs other, cold storage infrastructure, their capacities. So they're all infrastructure information in GIS, so that it can be used it. And more emphasis is needed on intensive use of space-based inputs in precision horticulture applications. So in the coming years, so these technologies play a significant role in horticulture, especially to come out with to overcome the various solutions in horticulture sector. So ultimately, the synergy between high resolution data, GIS, and real time systems is essential for improved and informed decisions in horticulture sector. Either it is a marketing, either it is a production side, either it is a production side. So all these sectors of these horticulture sectors, we have an immense potential of these technologies to come out, on like geosmart and climate smart solutions, for this horticulture sector, for it sustainable and to grow in deep and bounds in the coming years, and to feed the global, not only Indian, the population, to the global population, and to realize this, sustainable development goals of the United Nations. So India has to play a greater role. So these technologies also significantly contribute to grow this sector in faster and more sustained way in the coming years. So with this, I will stop it here, and thank you very much. I once again thank Dr. S.K. Dwivedi, Indian Society of Horticulture Research and Development, for giving this opportunity and share some of my views with the esteemed dignitaries, joined across the country. And so this is it is my privilege, to share and with whatever the information I could share with this August gathering. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. If we get the question, we will send you by mail, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Shiv.